Welcome to the Anklers Art and Crafts Podcast, presenting peer-moderated conversations about the careers and contributions of the talented artisans who work behind the scenes on the TV series and movies we love. I'm Christopher Rosen, the Anklers' deputy editor, and I'm so happy to bring you a series of conversations with some of this season's most celebrated Emmy nominees in cinematography, editing, production design, visual effects, and sound that we recorded at the American Society of Cinematographers Clubhouse on August 7th. Hosting today's episode, sponsored by Netflix, is Alexandra Fehrman, CAS. Alexandra is an Emmy-nominated sound mixer and editor who has worked on Best Picture winners Coda and Everything Everywhere All at Once, among other incredible projects. She sat down with two of this year's nominated sound designers, Eliot Connors, MPSE, a nominee for Outstanding Sound Editing for an animated program for Netflix's Arcane, and Brad North, MPSE, a nominee for Outstanding Sound Editing for an animated program for Netflix's Love, Death, and Robots Volume 4. Alexandra, the floor is yours.
Hello. Nice to see you all here. I want to thank Ankler for having this awesome podcast. Really fun to be able to sit down and talk to you about the sound design for Love, Death, and Robots and Arcane. Congratulations to you both for your Emmy nominations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
They're both very well deserved. I love both the programs. And we'll start with a question for Eliot. I watched the final episode, and it's called The Dirt Under Our Nails, and it is epic. It's 50 minutes of jam-packed sound. So one thing I really noticed about it was the interaction between the sound design and the music was really nice, and I wanted to know kind of how you work with the composers and how it is for you to design around that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Arcane has a unique situation where the composers and the sound team, Brad and myself, are in-house at Riot, and we would have daily interactions, and we would work together to try things out and fail. Like, Riot has created a space where you feel comfortable to fail, which I think when you have that, you can take chances and raise the bar. Mm-hmm. We kind of developed a workflow where I would ingest all the music and dialogue and sound design that Brad and I were working on, and I would mix as I go and provide stems to Fortiche and Paris and internally, and we would review those stems, and what that does is it shows your problems early. It also shows you your moments where sound design is going to shine or where music's going to shine, and you can kind of have less focus on other areas and more focus on those moments so that you're improving. One of the unique things is we would carry those across those mixes all the way to the final stage, and then when we got to the final stage, a lot of the notes were already taken care of so that the mixers can focus on what they do best, is balancing and making the mix pop. So I think that creates a lot of clarity, and storytelling is improved because of that. Yeah,
that was one thing that I mentioned that I noticed too when I was watching it, is that there's so many choices of what to hear and what not, because there's just so much going on in the scene. And that focus is something that I had a question about, whether or not you made a lot of those decisions ahead of time, or if you made those on the stage, or how that went.
Yeah, definitely ahead of time. And working closely with the composers to make sure that sound design was hitting with the beats and the music, and there was never any frequencies that were competing with each other, so that there was a clear mix happening and not a lot of sounds stacked on each other, and precise decisions so that ultimately we're trying to tell the best story possible. And I think it really was achieved on this, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, another question about that is how final was the music when you got those early stems? Were they pretty much like what you ended up with in the final?
Yeah, what's really crazy with how you can create kind of temp music these days and how it sounds compared to orchestrations, it's amazing how close it is. And early on, since the composers were working so closely with them, we had a lot of their ideas early, or like even rough drafts that were going to be even the beats of this is how I'm going to go, or this is the key I'm using, so I could design magic in the key of whatever they're trying to do very early. And then as they got into orchestration, it was very close to how we had it in the rough, and we knew we didn't have any surprises.
That's amazing. That's super helpful.
Yeah.
And that shows too. Question for you, Brad, about 400 Boys, Love, Death, and Robots. This is such a cool animation. I can really tell that the style is kind of like a brushed or almost like a painted style, and I wanted to know how that informed your sound choices and if you'd worked with this director before.
Sure. So this director has done 3 episodes of Love, Death, and Robots. He did one in the first season called Zima Blue, and it was a little bit more of a simplistic thing, which actually kind of matched that animation style. The second season, he did one that was a little bigger. It had like space whales jumping around and stuff, so it lent itself more sound design moments, and it was a little bit bigger than the first one. Then we did this one in season 4, and I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's about these 100-foot babies that storm this post-apocalyptic city, so there's a lot of sound design that we can play around with. So during our spotting session with the director, who I had now worked with 3 times, he said, start at 11. And it's like, okay. Basically, he told us, make it big, and then when it's big, make it bigger.
That's great.
So that's where we started.
Yeah.
But it did lend itself, the art style lent itself to doing all sorts of weird stuff. I mean,
yeah.
If you guys have seen that short, it's pretty bonkers, so we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, I wanted to know, because the summary of the episode, in case anybody hasn't seen it, is rival gangs in a post-apocalyptic setting must unite against a new terrifying threat, a towering godlike being, which is a giant baby. And that giant baby has epic sounding, very huge footsteps. And also I wanted to know kind of how you came up for the sound, the vocalizations of the baby.
Sure. So it's kind of funny. So when we got the temp track from the director, he had worked on it quite a bit, because sound is important to a lot of these directors on LDR. So he had worked on it, and they temped in literally baby sounds. I don't know where the baby sounds came from. I don't know if it was his kid or someone else's kid. I don't know. But they were real baby sounds, slowed down and pitched, and I thought they sounded great. Like, it hit what it needed to hit.
Yeah.
Now, some of them have like these sonic blasts and stuff, so I needed to sweeten those with all of the fun stuff.
Right.
But it all was based off of baby sounds that were all pitched and all slowed down and cranked way up, and then you add some low end, and then every once in a while you blast it with some other thing. But those were all real baby sounds.
That's amazing. They were delightful. Very much enjoyed
Baby
them.
sounds go a long ways.
They do.
That's so cool. In the 2 programs you both work on, they're very different. Arcane is a long epic based on a video game that's very popular and has legendary sounds that are attached to it. And then with Love, Death, and Robots, everyone's a standalone. It's almost like its own little featurette in each episode. So I just wanted to ask you both what your spotting process is and how that goes.
Yeah, again, it goes back to the trust between Christian at Riot, the creator of Arcane, and the directors Fortiche and Paris. They kind of allowed us to cook a little bit, because we did the first season together, we basically presented them our ideas, and we were getting thumbs up a lot of the time, and the notes were minimal just because we had this rapport. Yeah. Obviously, there was certain moments that they had ideas that they wanted to try, and since they were in Paris, we did a lot of our spotting sessions through the AAF we would receive, and I would send them stems, and if they would mute something or throw in another sound effect, I could tell that was their note, and it was almost this non-verbal back and forth, which I thought was pretty powerful.
Yeah. With sound.
Yeah, totally.
My spotting is a little different, just because every single one is made by a different filmmaker. Every once in a while, we'll get a repeat director, a repeat studio, or a repeat producer, or whatever. But it's pretty rare. A lot of them are they're all standalone. So I meet these people for the first time during spotting session. We're not able to really get ahead of stuff too much on Love, Death, and Robots, just due to the nature of putting it together. So yeah, we spot over Zoom quite a bit. And, you know, it's a lot of times it's even in different languages. Like so we have to have like multiple people on there to kind of interpret it, because we have people all over the world making these shows.
Interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. One of the main studios is in Paris. And yeah, I mean, I know these guys now, but yeah, there's a little bit of stuff lost in translation, so we have interpreters. But yeah, we basically just go through it, and we have a general thing at the beginning, go through the show, we talk about certain things to hit, and then they'll get their say. We send them a mix. We'll do a notes pass of their stuff. But yeah, it's all very, very different. There are times where they just give me the show and I just go.
Yeah, you have creative license.
I have, yeah, so I'll have just creative everything. So yeah, it's kind of all the above. And then sometimes we get noted at that, you know. Yeah, it's an interesting, I love working on the show because there are so many different things that studio or that animation style or that type of soundtrack or this type of soundtrack. So
a lot of creative challenges.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, I love that. I wanted to ask one more question about the sound design in Arcane. I noticed that there's a lot of really interesting mechanical sounds and lots of cool metal stuff that is very detailed and fits sync exactly. And I wanted to know how you come up with that and how you incorporated that to your sound design.
A lot of credit goes to One Step Up Foley team and just the detail that they gave us, for sure. We did a really big recording session at a old printer factory where it was a museum, and we went around to all these different printers, and they had all these different mechanical items to them, and some of the sounds I got out of it were just phenomenal and just like incredible detail that you could use on like any type of mechanical clicks and but I mean we spent a whole day there and we got a lot of mileage out of that day for sure.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
I asked about that. It's interesting. And then about Love, Death, and Robots, I was going to ask, there's a lot of camera movement sound design I noticed in this episode in particular, and I wanted to know if that's something that's part of that show, or was it just this episode, or how is that?
It was just this episode. It does have a lot of whip pans. I don't like to hit those too often, but if it goes in a rhythm, you know, this is like sound design 101. It has to have some sort of pace and a rhythm. It just has to fit that pace. If it fits, you crank it up a little bit. If not, and they still want it, you just kind of bring it down a little bit. But yeah, we were asked to cover all the whip pans, and it's fine. I mean, the episode does have a snappiness, a pace to it, big and small and all that.
I'm with you with the general use of them, but I thought in this episode in particular it really worked well because of the style of it.
I agree.
And it looked like also like the time period that the animation reminded me of also kind of lent a hand to that. So I thought it was a nice compliment.
It works really well when it's not noticed.
Yes, exactly. Sorry. Unless you're a sound person, then you have to notice. And then, about the giant baby footsteps, how did you beef those up?
Again, we started at 11. I just made them as big as possible. I did all of our tricks. You know, we did, you know, the big forest stomps. We did, explosions. The funny thing is, like, the thing we leaned into the most was the explosions. So every time that thing moves, Every single footstep was sweetened with the biggest explosion that we have. So
that was felt.
Yeah, you can hear it. I mean, if you watch it in a theater, you can feel it.
Yeah, I wish I had the opportunity to watch both of these in a theater because they both sounded so epic and really nice, like really nice round low end, and everything was crisp and clean. And I really I really enjoyed watching these programs.
Excellent.
There was a quote, and I have to read it because I'll mess it up. I almost cursed, and I promised I wouldn't. There's a quote in Arcane that Victor says at the very end, and it's that he exists my place is at the intersection of order and chaos, and I feel that is very much encompasses what we do as sound, and it was very much
that's spot on.
Yeah, so lovely balances, lovely work, and really glad that I had the time to talk to you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.